Hi, I'm Allie.
I'm Nick.
And this is But Have You Tried? I have to say it a little different every time.
Yeah, you're a little early for Halloween, but there was a slight Dracula.
Well, I got my first pumpkin of the season yesterday. So
Did you?
And I hung up my ghost garland, so...
Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm feeling the fall spirit.
I was in North Carolina visiting some friends, and they were fully decked out for Halloween. Like big pumpkin on the door, trick-or-treat mat, and I was like, geez.
Nice.
Okay.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
I've just now started thinking about it, like what Stephen King book am I going to read and all that. So
I realized
it's begun.
Earlier this week, I was like, I know I had an idea for my Halloween costume earlier this year, but I don't remember what it was. But then I remembered. Enid from Wednesday. That's what I'm going to be.
Okay. All right. I still need to watch. I need to finish that.
You do?
But I'll tell you, we started it, and then I was like, maybe we should wait a little closer to Halloween to really get into the
you should
vibe.
You could always rewatch it when Halloween comes around. That's
Jeez.
what I do. Every couple months.
Oh, my gosh.
I just rewatch it.
That's so much.
It's so good.
That is so much.
It's so good.
Hey, Allie, it's Banned Book Week.
Man.
How do you... Sorry, was that a harsh pivot? I didn't mean to bring you down. Yes, Banned Book Week happens this time every year. The ALA puts together a list of the most challenged books from the previous year. So we're looking at 2023. And 2023 was quite a year for attempting to ban and challenge books. There's a lot of conversation, a lot of stuff going on. So always a relevant topic, always a relevant conversation to have. And I thought maybe we just go through the top 10 most challenged books according to the ALA.
And then our listeners know all the books that they should be reading this year.
Yes. So
these are the ones, listeners.
Yes. When a library or a school or a bookstore, whoever receives a challenge on a book, they're supposed to report that to the ALA, and then they compile the numbers nationally, and that's what this is. So I'm going to give you the top 10.
All right.
But that sounds like it's going to be a fun thing. Like, it's a top 10 list. This isn't fun.
This isn't fun. This is sad. But it's also, this is the books we're going to try and read. Yeah.
Okay. Number 10 on the list, Sold by Patricia McCormick. It is challenged because it's claimed to be sexually explicit and depictions of rape happen. Yes. Here's a little plot summary for you. 13-year-old Lakshmi leaves her poor mountain home in Nepal thinking that she is to work in the city as a maid, only to find that she has been sold into the sex slave trade in India and that there is no hope of escape.
Woof. Yeah. I mean, that does sound like some heavy material.
Heavy. It sounds very heavy. Number 9, Let's Talk About It. The Teen's Guide to Sex, Relationships, and Being a Human by Eric Amon and Matthew Nolan. I think I could probably guess why that was challenged just based on the title. But let's read on. Claimed to be sexually explicit, sex education, plus LGBTQIA plus content. There you go. I'm trying to be polite about this because I usually get angry, when we're talking about banned books because
so hard to maintain
just
that cool demeanor.
I'm keeping a professional detachment, like the late Walter Cronkite.
Right. I just feel like isn't sex education something that we all agree that we need to do?
I would say no. Not everybody does agree on that, I think.
Darn it.
Yeah. There's the crux of the problem. All right. We have a tie for 7 and 8. Again, I made it sound like that was fun, and it's not fun. All right. Tricks by Ellen Hopkins. It is claimed to be sexually explicit, plus drugs, rape depictions, LGBTQIA plus content. So that's always a theme of the books on the list here.
It sure is.
Number 7, Me and Earl and the Dying Girl by Jesse Andrews, claimed to be sexually explicit and full of profanity is the claim. I did read this. I think we've talked about this before. Your predecessor and I did this for a YA for Adults book club, and we both hated the book.
Oh, wow.
I think it's a dumb book, but you know what? If you want to read it, that's your right.
Can read it.
That's your right.
You're allowed.
Number 6, The Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison, challenged for rape, incest, and claimed to be sexually explicit. I have not read this book. I've read other Toni Morrison's. I have heard a lot about this book, and I have friends who read it and say that it's a very rough read. Which I believe because I've read Beloved.
Yeah,
so,
I've read Beloved too, and that was pretty rough.
That's tough. It's tough to get through.
Yeah,
for sure. Number 5, graphic novel. Here we go. Flamer by Mike Curato, challenged for LGBTQIA plus content, claimed to be sexually explicit. I know we have this one, and I see it, and I'm always like, oh, I should read that.
I know. I almost feel like I have.
It's so big. It's so big, and it's so wordy, and it's all black and white. I picked it up a couple of times, and I was just like, I don't know.
Can't do it.
I'm weak. I guess I'm weak.
I guess that's the moral of the story today.
Number 4, Perks of Being a Wallflower by Stephen Chbosky. So I have both seen this and read the book.
I've kind of intended to, but I haven't gotten around to it.
Another one?
Mm-mm.
You haven't seen or read? Okay.
No.
Claimed to be sexually explicit. There's LGBTQIA plus content, rape, drugs, and profanity inside of it, according to the challengers.
Got it.
Number 3, this book is Gay by Juno Dawson. Challenge for LGBTQIA plus content, sex education, and claimed to be sexually explicit. Yes, this is a sex education book. This is a topic of a lot of conversations. I read it. Seems like it would be a useful thing. I don't get, because the internet exists.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, the internet exists, so...
It's not like you can't have access to this stuff if you want it.
Right.
It's just going to be like from randos on Reddit who you shouldn't trust at
all.
all. Yeah.
Exactly. And then you have a book like this, which is like professionally put together and, you know...
Like research,
yes.
you know.
Yeah.
Sociology was used, all the good stuff.
I just, you know, I mean, I'm a parent, and I feel like I know that I can't prevent my child from is seeing things or reading things that I would prefer that he not. You know, I still try, you know, like we still work together, we still talk about things, but like it's just the world, you know, it's going to happen. And I always come back to the idea of like, if a kid is curious about this or any kind of information that they feel that they need, and their move is to go to the library to check out a book, then like, bravo, we've done it. We won. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because you're right. It's just Reddit chains and, you know, I'm not sure if people are aware, but you can say anything on the internet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You can be like, hey, I'm an expert. This is information.
Yeah. You can just buy a website if you want to go that route, or you can post on Reddit or any of the various social medias and just be like, yes, here is my expert knowledge that I passed down to you. And that is dangerous. Number 2, All Boys Aren't Blue by George M. Johnson. This is challenge for LGBTQIA plus content and claimed to be sexually explicit. This one, when it came out, I read it and I did a staff pick on it. And then it blew up as this big book that was like frequently challenged all the time. So
you're ahead of the times.
So I guess so. But my point is, if anybody wants to point the finger at me, they can just go and find my staff pick and be like, look.
This is what started it all.
Look what a monster he is. Yeah, it's there. Number 1. Genderqueer by Maya Kobabe. Challenge for LGBTQIA plus content. Claimed to be sexually explicit. This is another graphic novel. And yeah, this one is the new darling of the challenge books.
Yeah, this is the one section. I hear talked about all the time.
It's at least 2 years old. I
think so.
I feel like it's more. Maybe not, but it's been around for a while. I read it, and I mean, again, I found it interesting and informative and, you know, made me think about things that I have never thought about before, like in a good way, just thinking about and understanding, or gaining a better understanding, I should say, of other people's experiences. Yeah. And again, isn't that valuable in society?
Oh, and that's one of the things I love the most about books. Yeah. I feel like there's so many things that I know, or like insights into worlds or cultural experiences that I have that I never would have had the opportunity to have had I not read about them in a book. Yeah. And that truly just makes my heart sing.
I agree with you. And as with every year, my feelings remain the same, and that is book banning is stupid.
I'm waiting for the year where you're like, suddenly I'm going to be a book banner.
No, I don't think so. I don't think it's going to happen, but you can keep waiting.
Maybe in an alternate universe.
That's right.
All right, well, speaking of books.
Yes.
Do we want to talk about our subject for today?
We do want to talk about our subject for today, which is the book Chasing Vermeer by Balliett?
I don't actually know. Okay. You know, that's been my whole life. In my head, I always say it Balliett.
Balliett?
That could be. I don't know.
One of the two.
I don't know.
Balliett. There
we go. You can decide for yourselves.
The power is yours. All right, so this is the book that Allie assigned me, and let me hit you with some information. Illustrations were by Brett Hellquist. The audiobook was read by Ellen Riley. And I listened to a lot of the audiobook, but also there's like physical things inside the book that you
really
like
need to see. There's like pictures and stuff that you really want.
So I kind of bounced back and forth, and I had the book. I have it here. Look at that.
Right before my eyes.
And I did flip through and look for clues and things like that. It was published in 2004. It won an Edgar Award and an Agatha Award. This was the author's first book. It took her 5 years to write, and she was sort of reading it along. She's a teacher, reading it along to her class, like as she was writing it.
That's so
it was
cool.
Kind of like a group project over the course of all those years. And some of the assignments in the book were assignments that she actually gave to the students who were sort of participating in the writing of the book.
That's incredible. This book almost made me want to be a teacher, actually.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It was a near thing.
All right. 3 sequels were published. The Wright 3, W-R-I-G-H-T, The Wright 3.
As in Frank Lloyd Wright.
Probably. In 2006. Have you read it?
I have.
Okay. Oh, so definitely about Frank Lloyd
Wright.
Wright.
Frank Lloyd Wright.
I thought you were just guessing. It does upset me that book 2 is called The Wright 3. I don't think that's allowed, typically.
I understand. I understand your complaint.
Okay. Book 3 is called The Calder Game by 2008. Have you read that?
I have.
What's it about?
So you know how they talk about how Calder is named after this guy who makes
Yes.
the like mobiles and sculptures?
Yeah.
It's kind of about that.
Okay. And then in 2015, so quite a ways later, Pieces and Players came out.
I have not read that one.
Oh no!
I'm looking forward to reading it.
Oh no!
Though.
Excited. Are you learning about it right now?
No, I knew we had it. The first time I saw it, though, I thought it was like, you know how sometimes there will be a series of books and then they'll come out with one that's like, it's like got pictures and like maps and it's just that kind of thing. Yeah. And that's what I thought it was, so I didn't read it. And then I realized it was actually a sequel. Yeah. And I really wanted to read it.
Well, it was kind of confusing to me to try to figure out, because she has 2 other books, and it was confusing for me to figure out which were part of the series and which were not. So I had to like look for names.
That makes sense.
So yeah, here we go. Makes sense.
But yeah, I'm hoping to read that soon.
The story concerns the fictional theft of the painting A Lady Writing, which is currently housed at the National Gallery in Washington, D.C. Now, I did see several Vermeers in New York City. I didn't see this one. I was thinking I did, but I looked at it and no, I was confused.
There's a number that are... There's a lot of similar elements in his paintings, and so it's easy to be like, wait, I mean, that was the one with the pearls and the writing. It must be the same one. But it's like, well, no, there's 2 or 3 that you could describe that way.
All right, here's a synopsis directly from her website. When a book of unexplainable occurrences brings Petra Andely and Calder Pillay together, strange things start to happen. Seemingly unrelated events connect. An eccentric old woman seeks their company, and an invaluable Vermeer painting disappears. Before they know it, the 2 find themselves at the center of an international art scandal. Hate it when that happens.
I know, it's the worst.
Where no one, neighbors, parents, teachers, is spared from suspicion. As Petra and Calder are drawn clue by clue into the mysterious labyrinth, they must draw on their powers of intuition, their problem-solving skills, and their knowledge of Vermeer. Can they decipher a crime that has left even the FBI baffled?
Dun, dun, dun.
Petra in the book becomes enamored with a real book called Low by Charles Fort, published in 1931. It's all about like supernatural things.
Weird stuff happening. Raining frogs.
Yes.
That kind of thing.
Warner Brothers bought the rights for the book pretty much when it was published to make a movie out of it. And it went through a couple different screenwriters. It seemed like it was going to happen, and it never happened.
I'm not sure if that's a shame or a good thing, because I'm like, do I believe they would do a good job? But also I would love to see it if they did.
When I was
think it could
reading
be a really fun movie.
Yeah, this feels like a Netflix series to me. You know what I mean? Like I think that would make a lot of sense about it.
It's got like a certain Spies kind of energy that I feel like is very adaptable into film.
Yeah, it was giving me some shades of a few different things, but I would like to know how you talked a little bit about last time, but tell me like how you came across this book. Why it hooked your tiny mind. Tiny because you were small, not because you were dumb.
I mean, my brain literally was smaller.
Yeah,
so,
that's what I mean.
Yeah.
How it hooked you, because as you can go back and listen to the last episode, every word you said, I was like hearing it for the first time. So I don't know
you were truly surprised.
anything about this book. Nothing at all. 2004. See, like you would have been in kindergarten.
I was 4.
And I would have been
2004.
Yeah, on the verge of graduating college. So.
Man, different life experiences right there.
I know. We should do a podcast. So, all right, hit me. How'd you find it? What happened?
I don't actually know how I found this.
Jeez.
I'm pretty sure the answer
this episode is bombing.
That either my sister or one of my parents found it and was like, this looks good, because I wasn't really looking for my own books very much at that stage in life.
Sorry, what age were you reading it?
I don't know.
Oh, you don't know at all? Okay.
It was somewhere between 4 and 7, but I'm not sure where exactly.
Okay.
But I remember being really small, and my sister and I listened to the audiobook of this. I want to say a lot of times. Maybe we even owned the audiobook.
It's a good audiobook. It's a good reader.
It is a good audiobook. And I was very young, probably too young for it, but like listening to it as an audiobook made it much more accessible, such that I actually could kind of take it in.
That makes sense.
But I remember being in my parents' old bedroom in Colorado with my sister, playing this audiobook and like scampering around the room, like, I don't know, acting out whatever was happening, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I feel like for a while it was just kind of like, yeah, this is one of these books that I've always listened to and it's familiar. But like I was a big rereader of books the whole time I was growing up, really until college, I would say. I reread books all the time. And now there's just too many and I don't feel like I can justify the time unless it's a real special one.
Yeah.
But as I reread this more and more as I got older, I feel like the mysterious elements, the almost like, it's not even just it's a mystery and that they're like, oh, we're solving clues, we're putting things together. It's kind of some of the like almost unexplained, maybe supernatural. It's not really clear. All that stuff just really intrigued me. And I feel like has really, I don't know. I feel like looking back, I feel like there's certain books that kind of have set the tone for the kind of stories that I enjoy to this day. And I feel like mysterious ones like that, that's still something that I really love and enjoy.
Okay.
And just some of the like descriptions and the niche references, like it's like almost motifs throughout, like the blue M&Ms and the yellow coloring and like that kind of thing. I feel like just the tone of that writing, it was just very evocative and really drew me in.
Okay. Yeah, that makes total sense. I felt like, as I was reading it, it was giving me some Lemony Snicket, like, series of unfortunate events.
It does have a certain Lemony
kind of
Snicket vibe.
You know what I mean?
And it's illustrated by Brett Halquist, which, I mean, basically any children's book from that era, if it's illustrated by Brett Halquist, you know it's going to be a winner.
Does he also do Lemony Snicket?
I'm pretty sure.
Oh.
At least some of them,
okay,
I think.
well, I mean, I was going to say the illustrations it seemed to me like they were kind of chasing that vibe, but maybe it's just the same dude.
I think that, like, if you're down in the stacks, just like moving the Juve books around, you can tell if it's a Brett Halquist book. They've all got that vibe.
Right. You're right. Well, that's funny because even the cover, I was like, wow,
I know. It has that energy for sure.
But even without the illustrations, I just think the conceit of these like super smart kids kind of like really working on their own and like finding their way and the mystery element and everything did feel like that to me. And that was certainly like, I remember when those books were coming out. I mean, I was working in a library when that happened, and you know, you see this a lot over the years where it's like a book like Lemony Snicket is new, and then a lot of things kind of start popping up that are in that same vein. Not that I think this is derivative. I'm just saying like that was where the tone of books for that age were kind of all in that wheelhouse during that like unique window.
Nerdy children's books.
Yeah.
There's a real nerdy energy there, which also really appealed to me as a kid.
Right, which I think was like quite a shift from like when I was that age and reading those kind of books, because it was a lot more like, you know, rough and tumble. You know what I mean? It was like a Goonies kind of thing. So
right.
It's just a bunch of like average kids like getting into scrapes and things like that. But there was kind of a shift to the more like arty and educated kid, you know, going forward, which, you know, is fun. I feel like my biggest takeaway from this was that I wish that I had discovered it as a child, because I really think that I would have devoured the whole series. You know, I liked it and I like appreciate it as an adult, but I feel like
it would have been even better as a kid.
Like as a kid, and I would have been like eagerly waiting the next one, and then like 10 years later when the new one comes out, it would have been like, what, you know.
But unfortunately, it didn't come out until you were in college.
It didn't come out until I was in college.
But I need a time machine.
I did read Lemony Snicket at that time, like as they were coming out. I was reading them, but yeah, I don't remember even seeing this book like in the libraries. And it was, you know, the Edgar Awards are a pretty big deal, as is the Agatha, but I think Edgar in particular really tended to elevate, you know, books like that, and I just don't remember seeing it at all.
Well, it's funny because I feel like I remember around that time, like, I don't know, a number of my other friends, like I feel like people knew about it a little bit.
Okay.
As much as I was aware of, you know, as a child. But it's really one that I don't feel like like there's a lot of books from that era or from even older that I feel like people are like, yeah, these stand out as classics, you know, like these, we're going to go back and we're going to reread them. We're going to give them to our kids. And I feel like I haven't really heard this one talked about in that context. And I don't know why. Like it should be.
Humble brag alert. But I was surprised that I had never heard of it, because especially, you know, a 4-book series like that, it just seems like I would have either seen it or just like come across it just in normal librarianing, but no. How quickly did you read the sequels? Did you read this one like a million times and then we're like, there's a sequel?
Yeah, basically. Okay. I read this one a million times growing up, and I think in maybe like high school, I tried to read The Right Three.
Ugh.
No, I think I did read The Right Three in high school.
Okay.
And I liked it okay, but I wasn't quite as jazzed about it.
Yeah.
And there's a new character, that's why it's The Right Three, because the three of them are doing stuff together.
Yeah. Okay.
Who I just was a little bit like more meh about. But then I listened to it in college. I was taking a painting class, and I had a lot of time to listen to audiobooks.
Oh, okay.
It was the dream, honestly.
Yeah,
I read so many books that semester. And I listened to The Right Three again, and I enjoyed it a lot more. And then I also listened to The Calder Game, because I'd never read that one before, which I also really enjoyed. So.
Okay. How do you feel about Vermeer?
I like Vermeer, but maybe because of this book,
I see.
It's really hard to trace the chicken or egg situation there. I did like a school project on Vermeer when I was in middle school. Okay. Again, maybe because of this book.
Yeah. I mean, The Girl with a Pearl Earring is probably the only thing that I would have been able to be like, Vermeer, you know?
But I feel like they all have a certain energy. Once you know what to look for,
yeah, you're right.
You could probably say, yeah, that's a Vermeer.
Yeah. Yeah, and some of it feels like you can make a flip book because there's a lot of
I know. There's a lot of repeating elements, which I think is really interesting.
And stuff. So yeah, like I said, I do think this would have hit me just right because I really liked books that had a mystery element. And this is you never think anybody's gonna like die really, but like there's a sense of danger, you know, that they don't know what's going on, and you know. Because I read a lot of I loved Encyclopedia Brown. I love the Clue book series. It was like Minute Mysteries. I love this series called The Three Cousins Detective Club. I read those kind of things all the time. So this would have sit really well with like what I was already into and gravitating towards. So curse my age, but no.
That's a shame.
Did you read Lemony Snicket? Were you a fan of the series of Unfortunate Events?
So I wasn't allowed to read a series of Unfortunate Events as a kid.
Really?
Yeah, my mom was like, "This is sad and bad things happen all the time."
Oh well.
Which is
that's the title.
Really fair, honestly.
Yeah, that's the
I think
core.
even in one of the first books in the like little Lemony Snicket like prologue bit or whatever, he's like, if you're one of those people who doesn't like to read about bad things happening to children all the time, you shouldn't read this. And I was like, well, yeah, I'd say my mom is in that category, perhaps justifiably so.
Okay.
But I think it was maybe the first year I was out of college, I read All the Wrong Questions, which is like a prequel series that my brothers were getting into and they loved. And I really, really enjoyed that series. I think it's so good. And it has such a similar energy to Chasing Vermeer, really, I think.
Yeah.
The, like, you know...
I've only read the first of
those. Kid prodigies doing stuff on their own. Things are mysterious. We don't understand. And there's, like, again, like coffee and, like, certain evocative themes. So after that...
Did you read all of those books? The All the Wrong Questions
I read all
books?
4 of them.
Okay.
There's only the 4. Yeah. And the ending is confusing. But...
Okay.
So then after that, I tried to read a series of Unfortunate Events, and I think it is truly just a thing of, like, it was a little too late because it just didn't have the same magic for me.
Yeah.
And maybe I shouldn't have read All the Wrong Questions first because I do feel like they're better. And so it's like it spoiled me a little bit.
I think they're definitely, like, the Lemony Snicket books, they get progressively bigger, and I also think they get progressively more... like the tone and the writing style ages with the kid, like as you're reading it. So probably going from one of the more recent ones to The Bad Beginning would be hard.
It was a lot hard.
Tim Curry reads a lot of the audiobooks.
I mostly was listening to them, and that was helping. And I think part of the issue too for me is that in All the Wrong Questions, it's like this kid who's like, yeah, I am a reporter, and this kid who's like, I am a chemist.
Yeah.
Whereas in the series of Unfortunate Events, it's more like, oh, I'd like to be a scientist. I'd like to be. And I was like, what are you talking about?
Just
you might be like 13, but you can
do it, man.
You can just do that. So I think I got up to like the ersatz elevator, and then I just kind of, theoretically, I'll go back eventually.
Okay. No, I really liked it. I started reading them in my first library job, and then I read them like all through college. So I checked out a lot of these books from the Wide Awake Club over in Fillmore. So shout out to Roxanne because that's how I read them. But I also feel like the style of those books doesn't work as well today. I mean, the thing that was so unique about them at the time was the tone and the fact that, like, yeah, we're putting these kids through the ringer. I mean, that was pretty unheard of, I think, especially in books geared towards that age. I mean, that's kind of a classic thing, you know, like Captain's Courageous and things like that, where, you know, you have a kid like just going through a series. But I think now that's been done so much that it's kind of, it hurts it by comparison because we're experienced, like we have experience with that style now. And so, yeah.
And I think I struggle a little bit with that aspect as well. Like, as I was reading through them, I was enjoying them, although, again, not as much as All the Wrong Questions. But I was like, man, these kids just can't cut a break, and that's kind of exhausting. Like,
yeah. I was very pleased with the ending of that series.
Okay.
If that helps you.
That does help.
Okay.
Maybe
I should make you.
Maybe I should
make you read them all.
Have you tried the last half of Series of Unfortunate Events?
Books 6 through 13. Although I do have to say they all have alliteration, but the last book is just called The End.
That is a little odd.
And I was like, you couldn't have just said the everlasting end, the eternal end. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
maybe it's supposed to be like to throw you for a loop.
No, I get it, but I don't like it. Is what I'm saying. But I did like Chasing Vermeer, and I think I was trying to get my son to read it, and we ran out of time. But I'm still going to keep pushing him because I think he would like it. I think he would be fascinated by the pentominoes that they use.
Mm-hmm. And we have a set here at the library, which are conveniently sitting on the table in front of me at this moment.
And actually, I want to just comment on your restraint for not messing with them the whole time we recorded.
I was messing with them while we were getting ready, but I'm like worried that you'll hear all the clinky clinks.
Yeah. So, I mean, I recognize that those are things, but I've never heard that name before, and I don't really know anything about them. So talk to me about pentominoes.
Okay. So the idea with pentominoes, they're these shapes that are made up of squares. They kind of look Tetris-y. Yeah. It's a very similar situation. And all of them are made up of 5 squares, hence pentominoes.
Yes.
And it's every way that those 5 squares can be arranged in a 2-dimensional area. So there's 12 of them, and the goal with them is to make rectangles. You can use all of them to make a big rectangle. I think there might be a couple ways to do that. Or you can use just a couple of them to make smaller rectangles. Yeah. And it's kind of like Soma, or anything like that if you've experienced one of those, which I think are cool. The 3D element is fun for me. But it's like one of those kind of classic mathy puzzles, a little bit mixed with a fiddle toy.
Okay.
I think the way that they're used in the book is really interesting because Calder is kind of like the sciencey one.
Yeah.
And he has the pentominoes and he's always using them and everything. But the fact that he almost uses them like fortune telling. He'll like pull one out of his pocket and be like, it's a T that stands for trouble. Yeah. And I think it's funny that the sciencey one is the one who's like, yeah, I'm just going to do some fortune telling with my puzzles over here.
Did you have a book crush on any of these characters? You could tell me. This is a safe podcast.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I really admired Petra and I wanted to be like her. And she wanted to be a writer and I wanted to be a writer. So like, and I think her name is so cool. And it says she smells like lemons. And I'm like, that's iconic. What can I do to smell like lemons? But I didn't have a book crush on any of them.
Okay. All right.
I just wanted to be like
Did
Petra.
You succeed in smelling like lemons? Was that a
No, I tried. That was a real goal.
And
I did. Okay. I tried, but I don't think I ever really succeeded.
Well, that's a shame.
I needed to get like lemon essential oil or something. And I never did.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, no, I had a good time with this. And it is, you do miss something by listening to the audiobook because you don't see like the visual clues and just the images and things.
Did you try to figure out the hidden code?
Is nice. I did mess with it a little bit. How were you obsessed with this code? Did you?
So I feel like I tried a lot of times as a kid to figure it out, but I never could. But then Caleb and I reread it sometime in the last year or so. Well, he read it for the first time. And I was like, wait, I like actually can figure out what's going on now. Like, I don't know if my brain has matured.
I guess so. It got bigger.
Yeah, it got bigger. It was small.
Bigger.
A little bit bigger anyway, but.
Okay. Yeah. So are you going to read
Pieces and Players?
Pieces and Players.
For sure.
The last book. For sure.
For sure.
You're committing.
There's no way I can't.
Okay.
It's just like once I'm done reading the other things.
Follow up.
I know. We can talk about it in a bookshelf someday.
Okay. We'll do that. Well, listen, Allie, I know that you like Chasing Vermeer, but have you tried the X-Men? Specifically, the first X-Men movie starring Hugh Jackman.
I have not.
Okay, because Hugh Jackman just had his swan song as well, maybe. Now that he's back to do it and Disney saw
anything
how much money
is possible.
It made, yeah. So right now, his swan song. But that first X-Men movie came out in 2000. I was in high school. It was like this new era of superhero movie. And I feel that it really holds up. But maybe that's just my nostalgia speaking. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see.
I would like you to watch it. And I'm just going to leave it at that one. If you want to go deeper into the series, you can. But I think nothing quite encapsulates that era of X-Men as well as the first movie. I think it just hits its marks, gets things right, and you see these characters come on screen, and it just really clicks.
Well,
so
I'm very curious to see it.
Okay, well, you've got a month to watch it. So in 2 weeks,
I can handle that.
I think you can too. We'll be back for our bookshelf episode to talk about all the things we're reading and watching. And then after that, we'll be back to talk about X-Men. And remember, it is Banned Books Week, and we have a whole nice display of books that have been challenged over the years. Some great books, some classics, To Kill a Mockingbird, Catcher in the Rye, lots of things have been on that list before. So it's interesting to see how sensibilities have changed. And you can find out more from bandbooksweek.org, or, of course, ALA has lots of information on that as well. So check that out. You can check out the display here and watch X-Men with me and Allie. We'll be back in a month to talk about it.
Sounds good.
Okay.
See you then.
Bye.
Bye.